Thank you for tuning in. This is Robin Martinelli. I own and operate Martinelli Investigations, and this is my podcast. And now part 2 of Beyond Politics. Michael Cohen, he had to talk about his AT&T billing. And I remember you laughing about his when he as an attorney billed AT&T for something I don't know. How did that go?
So in the case, part of the prosecution's argument about,
and he was a state's witness. Michael Cohen.
He certainly was. Yes. Mm-hmm. Part of the issue with Michael Cohen's testimony is that in cross-examination, basically, I'll start from the beginning here. Prosecution is saying, well, the payments that Donald Trump made to Michael Cohen could not be legal fee payments as they were recorded in the quote-unquote business record because Michael Cohen didn't have a retainer agreement with Donald Trump. They rendered a guilty verdict. So my argument is, if that is what the jury is saying is true, that Michael Cohen couldn't have been Donald Trump's attorney because they didn't have this retainer agreement, then how did Michael Cohen, go around to all these huge corporations and tell everybody that he is the personal attorney to the President of the United States and subsequently get contracts to the tune of $4+ million
They're very
just
lucrative.
In 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 year. Like, I think it was, and I'm going to get these mixed up because I always do because there's a couple of companies. But for an example, one company, let's say AT&T, they were wanting to acquire Time Warner at the time, which is now Charter Communications. Time Warner was in talks with AT&T, and they brought in Michael Cohen to advise them on some certain aspects of this deal. He ended up talking to AT&T, I think they said 6 times for the whole year, to the tune of like almost $1.2 million. Fact check me on that. It was a lot of money for 6 conversations, phone conversations, I believe he said too. He didn't actually go in, if I remember correctly. And that's just one business. That's there's, I think, Columbia Novartis and other businesses that paid him, $400,000, $600,000.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1 year, Michael Cohen, by claiming he was Donald Trump's personal attorney, which Donald Trump doesn't dispute, but the prosecution does, right? Because they say he doesn't have a retainer agreement. He was able to make $4+ million while residing in the state and county of New York. I mean, that's a Class A felony in New York. If he, according to the prosecution, is not legally his attorney and can't receive legal payments, he can't represent himself as his attorney either, in my opinion.
Didn't he get arrested?
So he was prosecuted for tax violations and some other things, dealing with his taxi medallion business. So a lot of people, I think that's one thing we like to point out a lot. It's something we think is kind of funny. People think that Michael Cohen was just some dummy. He's just some poor schmuck that was caught up in the world of Donald Trump. People don't realize that Michael Cohen and his wife have an extensive real estate portfolio. They had multiple taxi medallions. I mean, they were raking in millions and millions of dollars a year, completely aside from what Trump was paying. Trump was paying them like peanuts compared to what he was making in other places.
Right.
And so I always think that's pretty interesting. So, and a good example is Michael Cohen made $4 million allegedly, and didn't take a dime supposedly from Trump for legal fees, but just used his name to make $4 million. So,
sure.
It's crazy.
Well, SK, how did y'all do this? How did y'all stay up all night long?
I still don't know. I have no idea.
It had to be interesting.
I think we were just so excited and just waiting to see what was going to come out next and what they were going to say next. And we were pretty invested in the case before we ever got to the transcripts.
A lot of Red Bull.
A lot of invested people, too, that were commenting. And I'm sure y'all got a bunch of people that said, hey, I'd really like to know more about this and subscribe. And it just got more interesting. So is there any more y'all want to share about that case before we go over to the more different case, I guess you can say?
I don't know. We could go on about this one forever. There were so many different witnesses and so many different things that came out in that case.
Yeah, it was a tangled web for sure of just pure craziness. I mean, you had, I don't know what we can say on here, but you had adult actresses. You had.
Well, we do want to put it on the podcast at some point in time.
Yeah.
We want to do it on a podcast to be able to do it like that, like you did it in TikTok, but actually do it on the podcast because I think people would tune in to every word everybody said because it's shocking.
And albeit you're getting it from the way that we read it, so you're hearing how we perceive it, I guess is the best way to say that. We weren't in the courtroom. We couldn't see their reaction or we couldn't see the specific way something was maybe said, but the words are, they stand for themselves. I think the actions that were taken, clearing an entire courtroom to scold and threaten an attorney that was the defense's only witness, who, by the way, has a extremely good, prestigious career, who he was second in charge of the federal district attorney's office there. Those kinds of things. You don't get those from the news runs. You don't get to see some of the crazy things that are said, or it literally, they list out in there. At one point, Stormy Daniels propped her leg up on the witness stand to give this example of how something occurred. You don't see that through the news feeds. And so I think that's something we got to bring to the audience.
Yeah, I agree. But I will say that we would read the CNN live updates during the day. CNN would have every few minutes from the press that was inside the courtroom, and they would update and say what was happening and what was being testified to. And they were pretty good about talking about like the tone in the courtroom or how the witness was responding to questions, if they were combative or if, like when Hope Hicks got emotional. So we knew kind of the tone and how to be able to read the transcripts. So I would say that I feel like they were a little bit more accurate than just how we interpreted them, because we did read those updates and we knew when there was a combative witness or when someone got emotional or.
Yeah, I guess I mean it in the way of, we obviously had some haters in there when you read them and you kind of giggle a little bit. Or,
I giggled at those too, but I held on to every word like y'all did. Oh, yeah. And I was totally shocked. I came in the studio when I was doing some of my podcasts. I'm like, you would not believe what I listened to last night. And I said right then that I was going to find y'all. Of course, that's what I do for a living too. So I did find y'all, and I was like, I am going to have them because I still think the world needs to hear those transcripts.
Yeah, I've never been chased through a Walmart. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I've never had somebody just come knock on my door and be like, "Are you on TikTok?"
No.
Yeah, y'all know joking. I didn't do that.
She did not. We're joking.
She would though.
I came in your live. I came in your live and I asked y'all, would y'all please come to Georgia? And then I called the studio and they were kind of excited too. But it's good to have guests. But still, the world doesn't know how in depth. Only a few, I'd say maybe a handful of maybe 5,000 to 10,000 people know exactly every word that was. Just Mike. I mean, I keep going back to Michael Cohen. I don't know how Stormy Daniel did. I don't know how the other one did. I'm sure that was shocking. And the other case, the Hunter Biden case we're fixing to go into, you told me that. I didn't hold on to Hunter Biden. Okay, you did. But it's just Michael Cohen alone. I sat there. I said, did he just say yes to that? Did he just say yes that signature? And he just said yes. I mean, over and over and over. And I just couldn't believe the verdict. But okay, the verdict. Yeah. If a stranger heard that too, like y'all heard, because you physically said several times, I can't believe this. Wait, let me add this up. I can't. And my goal is to make sure the world knows about that. Yeah. And every single one of them, her report, the Hunter Biden case, the hush money case. Obviously, we're not going to touch the Georgia case right now, but things like that. I guess now is a good time. So wrap that one up. We can go straight into. What do we call the next case? Because I didn't listen to that one a long time. Is it the Hunter Biden case?
I always say the Hunter Biden Delaware case, or I say Hunter Biden gun charge.
Because we'll let Flash talk about that. He filled out some forms. How did it go? What state was it in, Flash?
This was in Delaware.
Okay.
the crux of this is basically that he filled out a federal form that anybody who is a firearms enthusiast has probably filled out at some point when you purchase a firearm, that basically allows them to do your background check. And one of those sections asks if you are addicted to or an unlawful user of specific illicit or illegal substances. Those check marks that you have to check on the box, if you check yes or no, if you lie on it, it's obviously a federal crime.
Why did anybody care? I mean,
That's
care.
That's a good question. I know why SK cares.
I mean, I care. I know people care. But going back to, I wouldn't say who cares about the Trump situation, but it's almost like, okay, why now? But then when you get into the transcripts of the Hunter Biden case, you get into some pretty deep, really deep stuff. And he was convicted, was he not? Even though I think he's on appeal.
He was found guilty.
I'm sorry.
He has a verdict.
Guilty. He has a verdict.
I don't think she's entered sentencing.
And I'm sure he's appealed and probably filed.
Well, he has now. He is appealing based on an appeal that Donald Trump made and was successful on thus far.
Right.
With Jack Smith in the Florida Documents case.
Gotcha. But y'all have the transcripts to this one too.
Oh, this one is...
We had to sit down at the hotel room and really understand what we could talk about and what we couldn't talk about.
I'll let SK say it.
Yeah,
SK,
so this is the
SK's more
this is the G version, SK.
Okay, well...
If you want to sum it up, I guess you can say.
I guess if I have to sum it up, I mean, obviously it was just him checking a box on an ATF form to purchase a firearm. And I won't give my personal opinions on that. I'll keep it to myself. In that case, the first witness was an FBI agent.
Yes, you said that. Go ahead. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
You were shocked about that.
I was shocked. That's what drew me in whenever we got the first transcripts and we had this FBI agent testifying about Hunter Biden's laptop. I'm like, wait a minute. So then, she testifies.
Well, how did that go? I mean, why did that even come into play?
Well, because she was a lot of the evidence that they were using in the case was from his laptop. They were pictures and videos and messages and from his iCloud account as well, which that I feel like is, to me, was the biggest revelation, is that the government preserved all of Hunter Biden's iCloud data the day before Hunter Biden took his laptop to the repair shop.
And before he filled out this application, correct? Or not?
I don't
know. We know?
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't know.
Way before that.
Way before. So she had to tell the truth on the stand about that. So did it get in depthness of what was on the laptop?
Well, yeah. I mean, there were pictures and videos played in the courtroom, explicit. There were lots of messages. They had messages between Hunter Biden and his dealers. They had him talking about all kinds of explicit things. Wow.
Y'all were allowed to say that on TikTok, I guess?
We have to use code words.
Code words.
TikTok is...
oh, my gosh. I bet y'all were shocked.
Yeah. I mean, trying to call illicit substances...
And the state goes first. So the state puts that... Why did the state think that was going to be good?
Well, it's the feds.
Well, it's the federal government, and they were smart. I feel like...
How was that smart?
This was I'll say this was... I'm not sure.
That's your first pitch.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I'm not sure if David Weiss, I always say Weiss or Weiss. I don't know of all the cases he's ever prosecuted. This one was butter smooth. I mean, the things he went after in this case, it was just very articulated.
Okay, but people on the jury are bus drivers and teachers.
Oh, yeah.
And clerks and work at
and
Walmart.
From Delaware.
And
from Delaware.
They all live in a 15-mile square radius.
And this is your first pitch, okay? You're starting the ball game. And the first thing you want to talk about is how explicit.
Well, it wasn't immediately explicit.
Okay. But she was going to get into it.
No, the FBI agent didn't. The FBI agent was just testifying to the authenticity of the laptop and the integrity of the evidence that they were going to be showing in trial.
This was part of her testimony.
So that's what caught me, because we'd been told for how long that this wasn't real, that it had been tampered with, that the things that had been released weren't real.
Right, that's my point. Okay, I would have maybe, in my opinion, slipped that in somewhere way. You know what I'm saying? So, okay.
Well, they have to. So in
they
most
have to
court
prove
cases,
he's doing some some essentials.
Yeah, they lay a foundation is what it's
Okay.
called. So, a foundation means
I hear you.
before I talk about the depth of this evidence,
The essentials.
yeah,
that he's
is this
doing.
evidence, like, who are you to present the evidence? Where did you get the
Okay.
evidence? Is the evidence real or fake?
I kind of see it. It's a double-edged situation.
Yeah,
So,
every
okay.
attorney will lay a foundation prior to asking questions, because unless they can prove that foundation, it's going to be an objection every time to foundation. So,
And we're not practicing law on
No.
this podcast at all.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Not a
Everything-
lawyer.
Not a lawyer, and not giving legal advice. Everything that we're talking about comes directly from these transcripts.
Correct.
That is directly from the courthouse. That is directly from the hearing. That's why I feel so comfortable,
oh yeah,
because I heard it, and I wasn't in so much of the Hunter Biden, because like you said, I was like, okay, I don't know. That was kind of weird. I don't want to say tit for tat, but kind of different. But then all of a sudden, y'all start talking about the laptop, and I'm like, oh, I don't think we can talk about that on the podcast. So we just need to kind of skip over that a little bit. But to talk about how shocking it was, SK, because you were very shocked about what was coming out of her mouth, the FBI agent.
Well, it was mainly the fact that it was real, it existed, it hadn't been tampered with. All of the things we were told before the election, people lost whole social media accounts with pictures of their children and memories.
TikTok included.
I was not. I
I
wasn't
forgot
on
about
TikTok
that.
then, but
Yeah.
Facebook, people lost their Facebook accounts over posting about the existence of this laptop and the contents of the laptop.
Right.
And people were told it was Russian disinformation. And then you have an FBI agent saying, well, actually.
And that was interesting too. It was the government,
Yep.
right? Because the prosecutors are for the government. It was the government asking the government if this laptop is real and if the information that they pulled from it was accurate and untampered with. For a long time, we had a growing list of intelligence and CIA and all saying that this is Russian disinformation. Don't believe these stories. And then you have government guppies, so to speak, sitting in a court of law under oath saying, no, it's real. The whole thing was real, and
But
this is where we got it from.
Hunter did not testify, and neither did Trump, correct? In
No,
both the trials.
neither
so neither
did.
one of
No.
them testified, so they
No.
stayed silent. And how long did Hunter's trial last? How many days?
Oh, gosh.
Maybe
A week and some change, maybe?
a week and change
It wasn't very long. I think that the transcripts are only like 1,000.
pages.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah, some days they only testified half of a day.
Yeah, we'd get like 200, 300 pages.
200 or 300
maybe.
pages at a time.
And 12 jurors, right?
12 jurors, yeah.
And how long did it take the jurors to come back?
Well, that was quick, too. That was
quick.
a day
No, that's quick.
turnaround, maybe two,
A
tops.
day. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, because
was quick.
I've done a lot of trials. When they come back that quick, that's kind of, we already have our mind made up a little bit. So are they going to have a sentencing phase in that one?
There is sentencing scheduled. Now, Hunter Biden is making the same legal argument
Right.
that Donald Trump made in his Florida documents case about the
Might be a stay.
the appointment of the prosecutor.
Right.
I will say that at least in the Florida case, Judge Cannon there is the outlier who has ruled for Trump and against the special prosecutor's appointment. That said, I think it's interesting that Hunter Biden's legal team is now taking that, what we would call legal theory approach, and asserting it in his firearms case. Will he be successful? I don't know. That prosecutor is a little different. There are some things that are a little bit different about that one versus Jack Smith. Weiss, I believe, was Senate confirmed and actually works for the Department of Justice. Jack Smith did not. He was a private citizen, technically, who was brought into the fold. I mean, the guy can't even file. Jack Smith couldn't even file his own requests or his own motions. He had to have two other attorneys from DOJ do it. David Weiss, he absolutely is a department employee. I don't know if that legal argument's going to float. Again, I'm not an attorney, an observer of what's going on, but I think there's some clear differences between those two.
You have anything else more to add, SK?
This has been so fun.
Yeah.
I could talk about it all day. I just have to be
We
careful.
have talked about it all day.
You
sometimes.
have any exciting things about Georgia you like about my state besides the peaches and everybody's nice? And
Oh, everybody's been so kind.
Yeah.
The weather's actually been great. I figured it'd be super hot and humid,
Yeah.
and it's been nice.
But I know that y'all have businesses and family and friends and associates. Y'all took time away. And of course, Flash brought Puppy with him.
Yeah.
Sprite had to come because there wasn't a babysitter for Sprite. So Sprite's with us. Anyway, so I appreciate that. And thank you so much for taking out of y'all's day. And I know that we can do this again soon because I won't mention them, but there's a lot more reports and a lot more trials. Hopefully we can do this soon. And thank y'all so much for coming. I was so excited y'all could come, and appreciate everybody on live. And so thank y'all so much. And everybody have a Georgia Peach Day.
Yeah.
Please contact us by our website, martinelliinvestigations.com. Martinelli ends in an I. Investigation starts with an I, so that's 2 I's with an S on the end. Our email is MII, and then Georgia spelled out, GEORGIAPI @gmail.com. And please call us anytime at 770-337-3999, 770-337-3999 for a free consultation. Thanks so much and have a great peachy day.